Welcome back to Hope, Faith, and Joy Daily Devotion. Let's begin our time together by hearing the 5th chapter of the Song of Solomon. I come to my garden, my sister, my bride. I gather my myrrh with my spice. I eat my honeycomb with my honey. I drink my wine with my milk. Eat, friends, drink, and be drunk with love. I was sleeping, but my heart was awake, the sound of my beloved knocking. Open to me, my sister, my love, my dove, my perfect one, for my head is wet with dew, my locks with the drops of the night. I had put off my garment, how could I put it on again? I had bathed my feet, and how could I soil them? My beloved thrust his hand into the opening, and my inmost being yearned for him. I arose to open to my beloved, and my hands dripped with myrrh, my fingers with liquid myrrh upon the handles of the bolt. I opened to my beloved, but my beloved had turned away and was gone. My soul failed me when he spoke. I sought him, but did not find him. I called him, but he gave no answer. Making the rounds in the city, the sentinels found me. They beat me. They wounded me. They took away my mantle, those sentinels of the walls. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, if you find my beloved, tell him this: I am faint with love. What is your beloved more than another, O fairest among women? What is your beloved more than another beloved, that you thus charge us? My beloved is all radiant and ruddy, distinguished among 10,000. His head is the finest gold, his locks are wavy, black as a raven. His eyes are like dove beside springs of water, bathed in milk, fitly set. His cheeks are like beds of spices, yielding fragrance. His lips are lilies, dripping liquid myrrh. His arms are rounded gold, set with jewels. His body is an ivory panel, decorated with sapphires. His legs are alabaster columns set upon bases of gold. His appearance is like Lebanon, choice as the cedars. His speech is most sweet, and he is altogether desirable. That is my beloved, and this is my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Verse 1 is often connected to the end of chapter 4, as it is the last words of the man to the woman about being in the garden. But it then moves quickly to a new scene that is very ambiguous to the readers. Is the maiden having a dream, or is she recalling actual events? It's hard to tell. But the poetry is metaphorical, and it is mixed with reality, and we have to admit that it can be read in many different ways, and that's what keeps it exciting. It helps us to be involved in it. And we also recognize that this poetry is very sensual. You can actually give it your own rating, depending on your own reading of it. It can go from a G reading to an X reading very quickly. I think this is also how we should understand our relationship with God. The reality is our relationship with God is as intimate as we make it out to be. Depending on how much we put into it, we can either be friends with God or we can be lovers with God. And so it is up to us of how much we put into this relationship. Then in verse 7, we get a turn of events. The woman is beat and possibly raped by the city guards as she is seeking out her lover. It is yet another example of a woman not having a claim to her own body. This woman's journey to claim love in her life has also brought pain and suffering to her. Without going too deep into this one verse, it is a reminder that loving God does not always bring pleasure, but also can bring persecution to our seeking God out. In verse 9, we then have the outsiders questioning the maiden as to why her lover is so special. Why is their love so different than other lovers? And in verse 10, she has her response. And just as her lover saw her as perfect, she sees him as perfect. What is interesting is that her description despite semi-erotic, is very general in that I don't think anybody could create a picture of what this man really looks like. And maybe that's the point. It's not about what we see in each other, but it's how we experience each other. This woman uses all of her senses to know this man. We are also to experience God with all of our senses. So often we limit our experience of God to head and heart, but we have a lot more senses than that. We touch God in the wind. We smell God in the flowers. We hear God in the ocean. We taste God in a cantaloupe straight from the garden. We see God in a baby's smile. I invite you to experience God with all of your senses today. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you in the next Hope, Faith, and Joy Daily Devotion.